Hi everybody, and welcome back to part two. Part one got so carried away that I think we were going for about an hour and a half. But Julian's here already. But before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about Heist Brewery Co. They've agreed to come on board with us, and they've sent me some samples to try. This is the first one I'm going to try, which is their dry lager. And I'm going to be drinking this throughout the recording. And anybody else who comes on and does future recordings with us will receive a case as well. This is a bit of a gamble, really, because I can't pretend I like stuff if I don't, and I didn't try this earlier, so I shall give it a try now. Fortunately, it's rather good. So yeah, there'll be a link to the shop in the description, and I'd like to thank them for sponsoring our videos. What are you drinking this evening, Julian?
I am having myself a Pliny for President from Russian River. I go out and get the Elder, Pliny the Elder, like once a week because we're limited to a case of 12 at a time. So grabbing a rack of 12 of those typically is good. But for the 4th of July, since the pandemic lockdown started, they started doing this Pliny for President run of their beers, which is like just a more floral and earthy noted beer. I drink good beer, but I don't taste these notes they're talking about. It's just good beer.
Oh no, I can't ever taste it.
Of Swedish chocolate. And, you know, the notes of Nazi gold.
No, I'm afraid for me I'm terrible as well with wine. I'll drink wine that tastes nice, or I won't drink wine that doesn't, you know.
It's actually really funny. So when I first met my wife, it was just whiskey and beer for me. And she was a big wine person, still is. And one of our first dates, she took me out to a wine tasting. I'm like, babe, I'm not really that much into wine. She's like, well, it'll be fun. Keep your mind up. I'm like, I'm drinking, so I'm going to have fun. Don't worry about it. I'm just saying, like, I might not do well. And
I'm not a connoisseur.
Yeah, well, they were just pouring, and I was like, so do you want to just tell me like how these things are supposed to kind of taste? Like what a Merlot is supposed to go down. I know it's Merlot, but I was just messing around. And she told me like, oh, these are supposed to be more bold. This is supposed to be crisp. You're supposed to get notes of this, this, and this. I'm like, is it made with any of that in it? And they're like, no, but it's just the way that, it's made. And, I forget. But when it came down to it, I got 10 out of 10. Because I may not drink the wine, but I have like a very sensitive palate. I know what's good. I know what I'm supposed to look for. It's just I don't taste blueberries in something that was made out of grapes.
No. The main thing is as well, I don't care. If it tastes nice, then that's great. If it doesn't, then sad times, move on.
You could have notes of hibiscus all you want in there, but if it's shite, it's shite.
Yeah.
Okay, so we left on what, I last time? H?
I think we were up to I, yeah. When I had the pub, we found a case of old whiskey up in the attic space, and we had a couple of the bottles valued, and the collector was like, "Oh yeah, they're worth about $2,000." So I said, "Well, we've got to try one." So popped the cork, and it was okay. It was okay. It was mild. It was, but I wouldn't pay $2,000 for anything I couldn't drive. But no, it wasn't worth £2,000.
Was it a bottle, like a singular bottle, or like the collection of bottles was worth $2,000?
No, per bottle. It was a case of bottle. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was. I'd have to check. But it was some ancient. It's not vintage, is it? Vintage is grapes.
No, you can say vintaged. Beers are vintaged now.
Okay.
Yeah, believe it or not.
Yeah, I believe you. It's been out of the alcohol game for a long time now.
I don't know if barrel-aged stouts are a big thing in the EU, but they're definitely a huge thing out here, or at least around where I am. They're a big thing. You can get like a little 12-ounce bottle of something that was just very well aged for like $35. So per volume, a really nice beer will outclass nice wine. because you get 750 mils versus like 12 ounces.
Oh yeah, with these, with the lager I'm drinking here is 5%, but they've got New England double pale ale, which I think is 8%.
Ooh.
You're getting the same stuff as I am. Yours just hasn't arrived yet.
Oh,
yeah,
it'll get here.
You should be getting a like a selection. I got 12 cans. One of them isn't actually a beer.
Ooh.
It's called Fuzz, I think, and it's like some sort of fruity situation. It sounds fun. I think it'll only be nice if it's cold, but I might try that. I might try that for the next video.
I don't know how we feel about drinking something called Fuzz. It's like handing me a can called Mold and trying to sell it as alcohol. Like, okay.
It's 9%. Yeah,
It's a niner.
yeah,
Not bad.
I think so.
Yeah, I think I'm sitting pretty at 7.25 with this dry hopped IPA.
I said I don't drink that much anymore, and I've got two of these cans, so I want to still be coherent by the end of the recording. So
Well, that's no fun.
I started light.
How big? Okay, so I've been meaning to ask because I know the UK in and of itself is small compared to rather the US. Like I can drive for 3 hours and remain in the same state. I can drive, well, depending on traffic, I can drive 2.5 hours and be in the same city. How big is it where you're from?
I'm mostly from Portsmouth, and that's like a small island. It is an island technically. At the bottom of the country, it's not big. I couldn't give you a volume, but you can drive out of it in 10 minutes. You know?
I can barely drive out of my city in 10 minutes. So if I were to ever say visit, I could probably do the entire city in like a walking distance in a day.
Maybe not walk it, but it depends what you wanted to see. Like, you could public transport around it in a day to see the bits that are worth seeing. Definitely.
I mean, I'd really just go out there just to go hang at a bar with you. So
Yeah.
I can do that in a couple days. Right?
Do that in a day, yeah.
Okay, I think we should get to it so that you can actually go home at a decent hour tonight. Okay, we left off on H last time. So, oh, actually, was it I? Did I ask you how blind people identify money?
No, you didn't.
Okay, so we did leave off on H.
But yeah, that's a good. Are we going for that? How do blind people identify money?
I'm looking at it now. So yeah, the I's are a little tougher because they're not things that start with I, they're connecting. So it's like, how many blind people are there in the world? How do blind people identify other blind people?
We walk into each other.
You bump heads a little bit. Oh, Roger, is that you? Yes. Yeah, let's go with how does a blind person identify money?
Okay, that is a good question. Well, I don't know if it's a good question, but it's a question I get asked a lot. And I got Simon to do it on a Brain Blaze episode. Basically, in America, this doesn't work because they hate the disabled. But the notes, the notes in Europe and the UK. Oh yeah? How do your blind people identify their notes without folding them in weird ways like he does on Daredevil?
He doesn't fold them in weird ways. He's got this little hole punch thing that like knocks it in Braille. Or if you're watching like the Ben Affleck version where he's like wicked rich, he's got them in like these little plexiglass cases with Braille on the side. I don't know who sorts it out and puts them in there for him in the first place, but that's how he identifies.
It's been a long time since I saw it. I thought he folded them like long ways and then different ways.
It's been a while since I saw it too. But yeah, like
it was a terrible film.
Maybe our government doesn't like it. We don't hate.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was talking about the government. I was talking about the government, not the citizens. Yeah, so I should make that clear. But yeah, in the UK, they've just over the past 6 years released all new notes. Because there used to be like a linen paper mix, and now they're more like the Australian money. They're made of plastic, but they are different sizes, and they've put tactile markers which look a little bit like Braille Gs. So the 5 doesn't have one, but the 10 has one of these markers on it. The 20 has two, and I have as yet to come across a 50. but I assume it probably has 3. £50 notes in England are, you don't want one.
Is it the same in America where they're just harder to break?
Yes, yeah. Like, if somebody
It's
pays
just a
you
weird
in 50,
denomination.
it's because if you're going to fake money, it's less of a thing now because they're harder to fake. But when they had the old ones, especially like in a busy pub, people would come in and they'd buy a pint and give you a 50, and you're like, okay, fine. So now I've got to give you £47 change, and then they'd come back and buy another pint with another 50, and then you'd say no. Come on. I know you've got the change because I gave it to you. I'm not breaking another 50. Just give me the change. You get £5 coins occasionally in the UK, but they're usually commemorative. Like they do them for the Euro football sometimes, and like if a royal gets married or something. But they're legal tender, but they're not in general. So like the mint doesn't put them out.
Right. Oh, okay. So I'm American, obviously. When editing, especially Simon's video, that he says like 25p, 50p. Is that like pennies for you guys? Like
Yeah. You have,
because that's like a pence, right?
yes, pennies. Okay. Yeah. So 50p is just 50 pennies or 50 pence.
Okay, because I was like, but pounds start with a P too.
But again, in the UK, all the coins are different sizes as well. So you have a penny, a 2p, a 5p, a 10p, a 20p, a 50p, a pound coin, and a £2 coin. And they're all, markedly different shapes and sizes. So that's what I got Simon to do on the Brain Blaze video, was close his eyes and like get all his change and try and sort it out. And but it's amazing how many people can't do that because they just look. I've met a few people who didn't even realize that coins were different sizes. That's how sight dependent you guys are.
It might be even more common coming soon because like this next generation of kids are going to grow up with digital money.
Yeah.
So they're probably not going to be actually handling coin. So we're on J's. I'm trying to find something that's not like a meme, but some of these are just really funny that I want to ask you. Okay. Apparently, like nothing else wants to show up for J's except for how many blind people Jesus healed.
None.
Oh, actually, you know what? No. I lied. I had how do blind people okay, how do blind people get jobs?
You apply for jobs in the same way that everybody else does. Or you do what I did and you slowly work your way in. You befriend Simon Whistler and then offer to write something for him about a year later. I was really playing the long game there.
So how long was that con?
It was a long time. I mean, I always watched his stuff back like before Business Blaze, and my little boy just started getting into using the Amazon Alexa, and he put a song on by accident called "The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald," and I knew the song and I knew the story, but I was talking to him about it, and then I thought, that's the sort of thing. I'm surprised Simon hasn't covered the story, but before that, I emailed him. I can't remember why. It was for this. It was for this chat for the original of this channel, where when I started doing the cooking videos, I did a couple of videos and I sent them out to all the YouTubers I watched, basically, saying, big fan, if you've got a second, could you have a quick look at this? I'm just looking for pointers and just general ideas. And Simon was the only one who got back to me, and he gave me some useful advice. And we just kind of stayed in touch. We'd email back and forth once a month. He sent me a couple of T-shirts. But yeah, so when my son got me thinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald again, I emailed Simon and I said, how come you haven't covered this? It's your sort of thing. And he said it's in the stack for somebody to write. And then about a day later, he got an email back from him saying, would you like to have a go at writing it? And I was like, yes, absolutely. So basically, as he says, write me a sample, I'll pay you. If I like it, we'll use it and I'll pay you, I'll take you on, So I wrote that for him. And there was a little bit of a plagiarism accident where, because I'd never written anything professionally before. And I'm sure I've told this story loads of times, but I basically had a block of text in my article, in my draft, that I wanted to use to quote a little bit of and sort of rewrite the information a bit. But I had so many drafts. When I'd finished, I sent him off the wrong one. And I got an email about an hour later saying, I think it said something along the lines of, I'm just doing some fact checking, as you do. And it had underneath that paragraph and then a link to that paragraph online. And he just said underneath, I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Care to explain? I was like, shit. So I just emailed him straight away. I was honesty from the beginning. I said, yeah, I can't explain. I'm a fucking idiot. This is what happened. This was Friday as well. So I said, I'll send you the other one. You'll have it by the correct version. You'll have it by Monday morning. And I didn't have to change anything because I'd already done it. So I just sent it to him. Then he read it and he said he liked it and he recorded it and it went out.
Nice. I've been editing for him for months. I've not gotten any t-shirts. What the hell?
I got the smash the dislike button one.
I still don't have one.
I'm sure if you ask nicely, I'll send you.
Nah. It's okay. I have enough. I've worked for enough startups or contracted to even more to have an entire wardrobe of just Silicon Valley startup t-shirts. I even have a pair of like the original Slack socks, which is apparently like a very coveted commodity in the Bay Area.
Really?
Yeah. And I just showed up to one of their events. I'm like, oh, those are cool. And they're like, oh, we're giving them out. I didn't work there. I just went to like an event. I think it was like a Yelp event or something that was held there, or like a conference or something. I just snagged a pair.
Fair enough. Well, if times are ever hard, you sell your socks.
That's a different website. All right, let's move on to the K's. How do blind people? Oh, okay. So K is gonna basically just be no. So how do blind people know when to stop wiping?
See, I don't know. It's just something you learn over the years. I couldn't give a masterclass in it, but it's just something you become aware of.
There's apparently a joke tied to this. Oh God, never mind. I am not reading that. But yeah, like the first 3 results are about how do blind people know when to stop wiping. But let's see here. Okay, so this actually might be a little bit more deep or not, depending on the answer. It could go some places, but how do blind people know when to sleep?
I guess that's down to sort of someone's asked that because of circadian rhythms and light and dark and stuff. Now I know for people who have like blackness, like a friend of mine who has 2 glass eyes, that is a problem. Getting sleep patterns synced up because your circadian rhythms are set by light and dark, daylight and nighttime. It's not a problem for me because I can see light and dark, but yeah, I do know a couple of blind people who do have to take sleep medication because they really do have problems getting to sleep at the correct time. So I suppose the answer to the question is it depends on how much you can see.
Okay, so essentially, if there is pure, like what some folks would consider pure blindness, just absolute dark, nothing. you would just have to mediate by external means like medication and such.
Yeah, or I guess you can just go to bed when everybody else does and get up when they do, and I guess you'll figure it out eventually. But
Could you mind a blind kid at camp? Like, is everyone going to bed yet? No, but I'm tired. No. It's like 5 p.m. It's like, how do I know this? Oh, okay. So if we're moving on to the L's, there's a good solid amount here. I'm gonna read a few off to you, and you tell me to slow down or go back or what have you.
okay.
But there's a few to pick from. How do blind people learn to speak?
Okay, that's not even.
How?
That's not even.
I know. I know.
How do deaf people learn to speak? That's a good question.
How do blind people live alone? How do blind people learn to write?
I did. Well, that's not true. My wife taught me how to write the letters of the alphabet not long after we got together, but up until then, basically my knowledge of how letters were shaped were from embossed letters on various beer glasses and, you know, occasional tactile letters around and about in life. So some people learn to write. I didn't. I learned to type, which I think was more useful. I also learned Braille. But basically, when my wife showed me, she did the letter shapes on the palm of my hand, and then I practiced writing those with a pen. But I'm very bad at it. She can read my writing, but I doubt anybody else could.
That is so fucking romantic. Just imagine like John Cusack and Sandra Bullock and having a scene where, like, you know, she's teaching him how to write on the palm of his hand, dude. That is so cute. I'm not making fun of you. It's actually legitimately like very touching. The only thing I ever taught my wife was like how to do a magic trick. Okay. I think that was L's.
L.
So we're on to M.
I refuse to answer how blind people learn to speak because, you know.
Oh my god. A lot of these on the M's are related, and we've talked about it before, like make money, make a living, blah, blah, blah. Oh, interesting. I think this is probably going to be the most relevant. How do blind people make coffee?
What I do is I pour the beans into my machine and I press the button. But I suspect they may be talking about instant coffee. There are a few ways. It depends on how much you mind getting your finger burnt, I guess. There's a thing you can buy which clips over the edge of a cup, and it's called a liquid level indicator, and it has 3 metal prongs. And when the first 2 become submerged, it makes a beeping noise. And then when the third, which is slightly higher up, gets submerged, then it makes a solid tone. So you clip that on the side of your cup and you can fill up from the kettle, pardon me, without burning yourself. A lot of people, I got quite good at this when I was working behind the bar. You can just do it by the sound. If you pour, do you know that hot water and cold water sounds different as well?
I actually do. I was gonna say this. Ever since I was a kid, I always, because our refrigerators normally come built in with, well, the ones that I've had, they come built in with a little drinking water dispenser.
Oh yeah, mine has ice and crushed ice as well. It's not UK common.
No?
No, not at all. No.
How do people live?
I know, it's terrible. I had a normal poor person fridge until my next door neighbors had a house fire, and they came to stay with me for a while whilst they were getting everything sorted. And they had in their house one of the American style ice maker fridges. And I was saying, oh, I'd love to get one, but they're so expensive. And my neighbor said, oh, they're not. He said you can pick them up secondhand for about 100 quid. So he found one on eBay. I bought it. The ice maker was broken, but it was only a small plastic cog inside. But he took it out and made me a metal one in his workshop, put it back in, and it worked for about 10 years.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't go back now. We bought one about 2 years ago for the house where I live now. And because here in where I live, it's all chalk hills around and about. So any appliance that you have that uses water, unless you actively descale it really regularly, will just die in like a year. It's terrible. But yeah, I've got an inline filter for the fridge, and so it does ice cold filtered water. It's great.
Yeah,
Would recommend.
I was gonna say, like, ever since I was a kid, I could tell by the sound, because like it gets higher pitched progressively as it goes higher. But you can, if you've done it long enough, like depending on the size of the cup, whether or not it's like big or small, or whether or not it like gets more narrow towards the bottom or the top, like you can tell.
That's another thing as well. When I was working on the bar, you can tell when a glass, like how far a glass is from the top by the weight of the glass. If you watch someone who's worked behind the bar for a long time, they can maintain eye contact with you and talk whilst pouring your beer. They don't have to look.
Yep. I used to be able to do that. I never thought about it though. When I used to pour from the tap, if someone didn't order a bottle or something.
I used to hate it when people ordered Guinness. Guinness is the worst. It takes so long.
The head foam?
It just takes so long to do a Guinness properly, and no one ever wants a Guinness during the day when no one's in,
Because they wanted people to see them order a Guinness.
You've never got two customers in the whole pub and someone says, oh, can I have a Guinness? It's always when there's like 3 deep at the bar and there's only one person working on there, and they're like, oh, can I have 5 Guinnesses, please? I just be like, no, sorry, the Guinness is off.
So I don't know if I ever
have a different drink.
In like the early 2000s, I was really, really into Boddingtons. Is that common out there?
Yeah.
Like it's.
Oh, yeah. It used to be. You don't see it on draft as much anymore. I think it's more popular up north. But yes, it is. It is still around. It's very smooth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very smooth.
We used to call it like the cream soda of beers, because it was like just really, really smooth. And the only place you can get it on tap around here was like the British Arms, which is like calling like an English pub like the American Eagle.
Can you get proper fish and chips there?
Never ordered them. I don't like seafood. So
it's the British staple. You got to try it. Nowhere can make good chips though. I went to the British thing in Disney World on is it Epcot, and they've got a British pub there run by a British person, and the chips are still shit.
How bad do fries have to be for an Englishman to complain about the quality of the food? Were they like soggy or something?
We're very particular about. I mean, fries aren't chips. If you have, like, I don't know if you can get proper British chips in America, but fries are not them.
I've been misled then. Hold on.
Okay,
British chips versus fries. Oh, you're just talking about like home style cut fries. They're just thicker.
Yeah, but they're also nice, when you come when you come to the UK, I'll take you to a proper fish and chip shop. You don't have to have the fish. You can have like a battered sausage or a deep fried Mars bar or something. But
Okay,
That's a
well, I
thing.
guess like the closest that we could probably have would be like waffle cut fries or
They're like
cottage fries. What the fuck?
they're the sort of consistency of the size of steak cut fries.
Hmm. It's really the only way they eat fries or chips. But like, okay, so going back, like, how bad were how were these chips bad?
They're just, I don't know. The whole point was it's supposed to be representing the British fish and chips, and they were just like American chips. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the oil they use. Hey, if you do steak cut fries, do you deep fry them?
I mean, if they're fries, you'd have to, right? Like
Or
that's
you,
the whole
yeah,
thing behind it, isn't it?
that's what I'm trying to work out why they're different, but they are different.
Maybe they baked them because you're supposed to deep fry fries. It's kind of
Yeah, that's
built
the,
into the
the
name.
clue's in the name.
You're
Yeah,
supposed to fry them.
but I'm not sure.
All right. What letter was that? Was that a J? Okay. L? M? N.
Yeah,
Okay,
we've
we're
done
on N.
L then.
How do blind people navigate? And you
Okay.
have an option between the world, websites, airports.
I'm going to go with the world because I've already done a video on how people use everyday technology. I've never been brave enough to navigate an airport on my own. So it's the only one I feel would bring new information to the table. That again depends on the blind person. You have seeing eye dogs in America, they're called guide dogs in the UK, but the sort of two main choices are to use a dog or to use a white cane, a long cane. But when I started off blind. So when I was growing up, I learned how to use a long cane properly. There's like different ways you use them for when you're walking, sort of like you see in films with the blind people tapping with a stick.
Yeah,
That is not a thing.
that isn't.
No, so certainly not in the UK. Maybe I don't know. Have you ever seen a blind person in the wild doing the tapping thing?
Uh, uh, huh. I don't think I have.
Do you know why? It's not a thing. It's like a sweeping gesture. You sort of you use the cane to sweep the ground in front of you. That way, if it
I mean,
goes
that
off,
makes sense.
that way if it goes off the edge of a cliff, or you'll know straight away. Rather than if you're tapping one side then the other, and walking at the same time, there's a huge amount of time you're not getting any tactile feedback.
That's true. Okay, so when I was a kid until maybe even until now, uh, not knowing that it was like a Hollywood invention to like tap on either side, I always thought that was for depth, like to kind of sense or get feedback on just how deep something in front of you is.
Well, yeah, but you'd get the same thing from sweeping.
I get it. I get it. I understand that. I'm just like, huh. I wonder what. Maybe it was like a visual thing that Hollywood needed to do. It's like, I mean, you wouldn't know this, but I think early film school. I took like a class in early college, but they would teach you that the audience is dumb, so you would have to visually portray certain things. Like if an air conditioning was on, you would put like little slivers of paper on it to show that it was blowing.
Yeah.
And no one ever really questioned that. But who sticks slips of paper on their vents? Or, on a fan or something? Like no one. Particularly like zero people.
That would be really annoying because they'd go, what the fuck is that all the time?
Billy's riding his bike with like the ace of spades in his tire again.
So films and stuff ruined for me about 15 years ago. I've got a friend who's a video producer. He did the cooking videos for me. And he told me that sound is inserted into everything, like afterwards.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. I thought, and now when you think back, because everything sounds the same, there's no way that every single door and everywhere would creak in the same way, or like door handles sound, just little things, and you think, oh fuck, how did I not notice that before?
But I actually found this out when I was a kid because I saw a PBS special because my grandpa, he didn't speak English. He was an immigrant here. And he used to watch just strictly PBS for some reason. And there was a special on Foley sound artists. And I learned at a very early age of like how they would make certain sounds, like squishing a potato would be like, I don't know, someone walking in mud. Did I say potato or tomato? I meant tomato.
You said potato.
Squish potato. I meant tomato. But things like that. And then you start catching it. Like there's just certain sounds that are always the same because they pick from the same library because they didn't want to hire a Foley artist. But yeah, typical like around the house or just like around you. Just common sounds are typically always edited in after because they have to isolate vocal tracks for all of it.
Oh yeah, I get that now, like after having recorded a few things. But I spent 3 years doing music production and recording and stuff, and I should have figured it out then, really, but nope.
I started to use some of that knowledge back when I used to stream a whole lot and would just wish that I could have a lot of things on just separate tracks just so I could isolate certain things out and like manage the levels and mix it properly. But yeah, just Hollywood kind of ruins you on a lot of things, like the Wilhelm scream. Like that's very prevalent in so many things that people just don't realize until you hear it. You're like, oh, now that's just cheesy. Like it's all over Star Wars.
Yeah,
it's all over every action movie.
It's even in the Star Wars audiobooks, man.
Okay, I think we're on O. Oh, you know what? You mentioned this in a recent Blaze. So, how do blind people order online?
It depends on. Well, Amazon is good. eBay is good. It depends on the accessibility of the website, and you know a lot about this, but people watching probably don't because why would they? The best thing people can do if you're out there planning an e-commerce website is keep it simple and pay an actual blind person to have a quick look over your website. I'm available, reasonably cheap.
Making things simple on the web is already hard enough as it is without going like full brutalist. Apple does it probably the best. Like they simplify things down really, really easily, but they're just like e-commerce is easy in theory. You're just trying to sell a thing, but people are hard. They want to know so much but get presented with so little. So designing accessibility around that is difficult. Like I currently contract out to a company to overlook their accessibility and design. So typically like you start off with like low vision or vision-ish impaired that can still use the web with their eyes. It's just high contrast at one point. But when you go down to like screen readers and stuff, it becomes an even heavier problem of like, what do you prioritize on the screen and how do you do this? Because,
I know it's a pain.
Every UI is different. And it'd be great if it could be standardized, but then like every site would look the same. And why shop at this site when you can shop at the site that you're already comfortable with? And then it just becomes a whole thing.
Yeah, I get that, but some things really do piss me off. And like until about 8 years ago, the RNIB website, which is the Royal National Institute for the Blind for Americans, their website wasn't really screen reader accessible. I mean, it was kind of. If you knew what you were doing and you knew how to invoke certain screen reader modes, you could buy something from them, but it should be better. Amazon was perfectly screen reader accessible by this point on the app and on the the web browse version. and it took 10 minutes to order a pack of playing cards from the RNIB. Do better, guys. This is what you're actually for. I phoned them up once. It was a pack of Braille playing cards. And I'd probably 10 minutes, fumbled around on the website trying to get it to work. In the end, I phoned them up. And I said, do you realize how bad the website is? And they said, yeah, we've got people working on it, but you can just order over the phone. I'm like, well, then why have you got a fucking website? You don't. If you want people to phone up, then I appreciate that sighted people buy stuff from the RNIB, but surely their priority should be accessibility.
Among other things, yeah. That's kind of funny to me because it's like the equivalent of you going in a store and buying something. It's like, oh, it's out of stock, but it's available online. Like 99% of the time, it's like, yeah, I know. I wanted it today, and I was willing to pay the premium of going into a store where you had something shipped, paid somebody to bring it into your store, paid someone to stock it, paid someone to label it, and paid someone to put it out. So, like, gimme. Don't tell me to go online. Like, tell me where it is in another store.
I wish I could give a shout out, but I can't because I'll be doxing myself. But there is a brilliant little computer shop. 5 minutes walk from here. And when I did the video with Sean, and I closed off recording and then realized I didn't have enough storage to save the video. So I just had to keep the computer running and hope it wouldn't crash until the next day. So I could go in and buy a external hard drive. And I explained to him exactly what had happened. And he was like, yep, here's what you need. He even said, if you bring the laptop in, I'll do it. I'll transfer it over for you. And you just don't get that in big stores anymore, Maybe you do in America. You're more known for customer service than we are, I guess.
Well, it depends on the store. Like, I used to work for a very large electronics store nationally. I'm not going to name them, but you'll know them by the colors.
Was it Radio Shack? I won't.
Oh, God, no. No, Radio Shack has... it's been a while. Now, this was around the time I worked for. Yeah. But yeah, we could do that for you easily, and we'd be happy to do it for you with a smile or a fee. Oh my God, this was back when this is a little bit after I first started getting into PC building, and I didn't start out in the PC maintenance and customization and repair department. I was on the floor, and I saw someone just changing out some RAM. I'm like, oh, I didn't know we did that. I'm like, yeah. $80. It's like,
whoa.
To change out 2 RAM sticks? He's like, yeah. Like, take like 2 minutes worth of work.
Yeah,
like, you don't even have to be really that skilled, dude. Like, you just pop off the back panel and this was on the laptop back when laptops were more serviceable. Like, it's like 6 screws. So yeah, we're very customer service oriented here, but you got to pay for it.
When I used to do IT repair for a while, and I had a guy come to me. He's like, oh, do you do upgrades? So yeah. And he said, I want 32 gigs of RAM in this computer. I was like, okay, well, I'll find out the price for the RAM, and I'm not going to charge you much to fit it. And he bought in this computer, and it was running Windows 2000. And I said, I don't think the board's going to support 32 gigs of RAM. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm telling you now, it's not. If you want that much RAM, the cheapest way you can do it is buy a new computer. And he's like, oh, you're just trying to sell me a new computer, blah, blah. I said, you take this anywhere. There is no way. And I checked in the end. I fired it up, and we looked up the maximum capacity for the RAM for the board, and I think it was 8 gigabytes. So look, I appreciate that you want more RAM, but that's the amount of RAM you can have. Or you can buy a new board. But by the time, but at that point, you might as well just buy a new computer. So don't buy it from me if you don't want to, but I'm telling you, this is the cheapest way.
A lot of folks just don't realize, like, computers and computer parts have a very low margin on them. Like system integrators, folks that just build PCs and just sell them, it's a very low margin. Like, yeah, at most, if it's reputable, they would charge like $150 for the labor of putting it all together, because the cost of everything is actually like pretty high. It's it's not that much more marked up than normal. So like a motherboard, like a good motherboard these days is like what, $110. I mean, you can always get a secondhand, but why would you if you wanted a brand new build?
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Right. And if you wanted to swap out for another board that can handle the capacity of your RAM, that you're looking at a lot of things like compatibility issues, like how many of these boards will take the processor that you have that support the amount of RAM that you want. Did you want current or next gen RAM?
That was the other thing as well. It was running one of the old Pentium 4s.
Oh.
I was surprised it would run Windows 2000, to be honest. Like, a new board, your hard drive isn't going to hook up to this, you know? Well, it might.
That was
just
even before SATA, right? That was still SATA. That's back when you had to actually set like master and slave drives.
Yeah, jumpers. I've got a huge pot of jumpers in my workshop, and I want to get rid of them.
Why?
One day, I've got so many old computers in the loft at my mum's house, and I know there's stuff on them that one day I'll have time to get back, you know? One day I will need a jumper. Probably won't need 20 or 30. There's probably 60 or 70 in that little pot, but you know, I'll need one day.
Dave, you just need a copper wire and some plastic. Like, don't keep a box of jumpers, man. Don't send it to the waste either. You know, like get it recycled, but still. Like every time I buy like a new power supply or something, like for some reason I still get Molex connectors and I send it immediately to like electronics recycling. It's like, what the fuck do I need this for? But man, Pentium 4, like that was well before I was still in the building PCs. And even I remember like the pain of jumping to right. Like, is it my hard drive that's the master, or like the CD drive? Will it work this way? Can I have two masters?
No, you can't. I did that once. Two hard drives on master on the same IDE ribbon cable, and Windows just pulled the file it got first from each hard drive.
Yep.
And it just completely destroyed the Windows installation.
No. Yeah, like the best way that like the person that taught me how to build PCs and like teach me kind of like the very basics of how things talk to each other. It's like, if you want this to work, you have to think about it in terms of like lane capacity. So if you had two trucks that are the same width and the same length on the same highway, can they both fit together on the same lane? No. Then why are you trying to do that? It ain't gonna work.
It got a little bit easier when cable select became a thing.
It got a lot easier when NVMe came along, dude. You just like plug and play. Well, no cables necessary. Just stick that sucker right in like a cartridge.
I suspect there is a possibility we may be boring people.
Right. Okay, let's go on to the P's.
We can have this conversation later.
Sorry, I'm in the mode of like I'm drinking with a buddy at a bar.
Yeah, me too. But I just remembered what we were doing, and I was like, the majority of people probably don't care.
Maybe they do. We might have some Linus Tech Tips people out there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Me too. There's definitely some nerds back there, but probably maybe 10%.
Maybe a little less. Reading the comments, maybe like it's like an offshoot of a standard deviant.
I'll tell you what though, I'm up for doing just like some random tech talk thing at some point. I'll go to my storage and pick up some of my old vintage gear. I've got a Commodore 64 kicking around, and we'll show that. It'd be good.
It might be a good way to get Danny in that basement.
Yeah.
Yeah, ZX Spectrum in there somewhere.
I know I've got one. I keep meaning to send it to Danny. He gave me his address, and I was like, I don't want this, and he will actually use it. It's just It's still in the box. I picked up a new power supply for it last year, and I keep meaning to send it to him, and not. But he will actually get genuine usage out of it, and it's just gathering dust. I must remember to send it.
I promise we're gonna move on to the P's. But so Kevin had been working on a laptop for a long time, and one of the folks that we talked to, they had an ITX case and power supply, like an SFX power supply that was like for that case.
Yeah, I'm nodding.
And they're like, no, it's just a small power supply. It's like 750 watts, like tiny and long. It's like, I can send this to you. He was like, oh, okay, but like I have nothing else to build a computer. I have so many parts in my garage from previous builds that's just like I can cobble together like a few different things to make like a pretty good build for you. So I promised him, I'm like, I'll send you a board, a CPU, a GPU, all the cables that you would need, you don't need a power supply. Like I sent him, I promised that I'd send him a bunch of stuff. It took me like 3 months to get it out of my house and off to him.
Yeah, but you can't moan when it's free,
Especially when you have kids.
Yeah.
When you're working and you have kids, this is harder.
Yeah, people, if you haven't got a child, one of the most annoying things I thought was the most annoying thing when I didn't have kids was when parents said, if you haven't got a child, you don't know what you're talking about. And now I get it.
Yep. Like, you are working off of minimal sleep. You are constantly having a schedule change, and you have to work on a nap schedule. And there are more things combined. Like, it's just, ugh. And they get sick so much.
Especially when they go off and meet the other children for the first time.
Oh my God. And it's not like you want to stop it from happening. You want them to make friends. You want them to socialize and whatnot. It's just...
Sending a kid off to their first play day in a hazmat suit, because that won't get them bullied.
Oh my God. If I could only...
Well, I've just finished this. I'm holding up the beer and turning it slowly because I have no idea which way around the label is. So if anybody wants to see it, I would highly recommend. It's 5%. It is dry lager, and it's very crisp. I brought it over here chilled. I don't yet have a fridge. Yes, would highly recommend.
Mate, I finished mine like a while ago. I'm on my second one.
Yeah, I've got another one under the counter. I'm just thinking.
All right, let's move on to the P's that I'm gonna make a little selfish here. Dave, how do blind people play video games?
My dad always used to get the latest consoles when they came out theoretically for all of us, but there wasn't a great deal I could do with those until the Nintendo Wii came out. Now, Wii Sports, the original Wii Sports, every game on there you can play by timing and audio. Like, there's a video of me on an old hard drive somewhere bowling a 300 on Wii Sports bowling whilst not being in the room, just listening to the beeps and taps coming out of the controller, and downing, I think it's 4 pints through the game. Tennis as well. If you listen for the bounce, you can play Wii Sports tennis. Golf is a little harder, but yeah, every game on Wii Sports, and that was a game changer for me because it sort of opened up a social aspect that I never really had before, and that was gaming with my brethren. But the Xbox and the PlayStation now have screen reader software, I hear. We have an Xbox 360, I think, and a PlayStation 3. I haven't tried out any of the screen reader software, but I know there are blind gamers out there who get by with screen reader software and really good headphones. There was a PC game called, it was one of the Star Wars, just a Star Wars POV shooter that if you played with headphones, you could do pretty well from that, just because the 3D audio was quite good. I mean, this was a game from, I think I got it in 1998. So to have reasonable stereo audio back then was good. What was it called? I think it was called Mysteries of the Sith. I used to play that quite a lot, but again, any game with decent audio, you can kind of, not any game, but some games with decent audio, you can kind of get a bit of enjoyment out of. But gaming isn't really my thing. But yeah, there are blind gamers. Maybe I'll try and find one and get them to come on the channel and talk about it. But that's pretty much my knowledge of gaming whilst blind. I hope that helps.
No, it really does bring a lot of things in, because I play a considerable amount of games, and the one game that I play, like the one that I have like the most hours in, casual players like don't know like how very sound dependent it actually is. And like I have a nice set of headphones, and I for the first time played that game again like a few weeks ago, and yeah, no, it makes a huge difference. You gain like a tremendous amount of advantage just having better audio. So games that build it in, I could actually see it like working out for the blind. Not this particular game, but games in general.
There are some specific audio games for the iPhone as well.
Oh.
Which work just on audio. So you have screen gestures. I'm just trying to think. There's a couple I've played. I can't remember now, but they're quite involved games, and they're just on audio and the sensors in the iPhone. But the problem I have is if I start playing a game, I will never do anything else. So I need to not game. Like, again, when we got the Nintendo Wii, I stayed up for 36 hours perfecting the bowling so I could bowl a 300. The thing is, when you first, I don't know, you probably, did you have a Nintendo Wii?
I did.
Yeah?
I've had every Nintendo generation up until the Wii U, because I skipped that one, and I have a Switch and a Switch OLED.
How did you feel after the first weekend of playing nothing but the Nintendo Wii?
You know,
physically,
I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna sound bad, but like my forearms were very tired, and like, you know, it's the exact same kind of strain that I had when I figured something else out when I was like, 13 years old. All right, let's see. Okay, so that was P. Sorry, I closed out of that window because I was looking at an email. All right, how do blind people cue? So the cues don't really have a good one. Yeah, because it's like, how do blind people read the Quran, see Quora, quit wiping, qualify for Medicaid? I don't think that you would know that. We might just need to skip Q.
Yeah, fair enough.
And we're on R. Oh, okay. Well, you were a musician. This is actually really relevant. How do blind people read sheet music?
Okay, sheet music does exist in Braille. I can't read it. I never learned music such as I can play. I learned to play by ear. I'm speculating here, but if you're playing the piano and your sheet music is in Braille, you're going to struggle to read as you play. So I'm guessing you would have to memorize your sheet music and then play. But theoretically, sheet music is available in Braille. So
unless you were a guy and you were just very used to working the keys one-handed.
Yeah. I suppose you could learn to read the Braille with your feet too, or I bet that's a thing. I bet someone out there can read Braille with their feet.
Man, if someone can play Dark Souls on bananas, someone can read Braille with their toes. Just that has to be a thing.
I'll look that up and I'll mention it next time.
Yeah, someone just basically Dark Souls is probably, it innovated the get good mentality, because it's just very, very, very difficult, and someone basically just mapped all the keys to a controller off of bananas and beat the game that way. Because
as you would.
Why not?
So I swear some people have too much time. I have a friend who sends me, where people go through everybody's speeches. It's usually like a politician, and then they'll do like a song or a rap out of just single cut words. And sometimes they're really good, but every time I hear one, I'm like, you need to go outside.
Touch grass, my dude.
Have you seen the guy who does like the disk drive things where he tunes all the disk drive motors.
No. Is that a thing?
Yeah, like old floppy disk drive motors. And
Well, I thought it was like old hard disk drive motors that actually spun. What?
I think it's all like all different drive stuff, and he's rewritten the like internal firmware that drives the motor speeds so that he can alter the pitches rather than, I mean, a certain speed on a hard drive will resonate to a certain pitch, obviously. So like he's written stuff like whole songs played out on like spinning disk drive motors.
There's a guy called Mr. Solid Snake 745 and the video that I'm looking at is floppy drive music.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the guy.
Oh, this is going to be so fun. That is so cool.
Can you stick a little clip in there?
Yeah. I 1000% I am. If we're on S, okay. Probably less relevant these days, but probably you've had to do this in the past. But how do blind people sign documents?
I just, ever since I was a kid, or from the first time I had to sign something, I just came up with a squiggle that I could do over and over again. Everyone who's seen my signature can forge it, but the bank know I'm blind and they know I don't sign stuff. So, and I'm also in a fortunate position where I can go to my local branch and everyone knows who I am by sight.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I go in, they say, "Hi, Mr. Page." One day my branch will close and I'll be screwed. But like if I sign something and it doesn't look exactly like the signature I've got on file, then it's not a big deal for them. They would also know if somebody came in and pretended to be me who wasn't. And like, it would be easy for me to, if somebody else went into another branch and pretended to be me, it'd be very easy for me to prove that I have never, ever gone into another branch of my bank.
Well, at least the bank that I worked for, we can actually see the history. So a good teller or banker or bank manager or any employee of a physical branch could see that. So hopefully they would actually do their due diligence and do that properly.
I don't know whether it's all banks over here, but I know Nationwide will, if you ask them nicely, give you a stamp. So you go in, you ask for it, you give them a couple of copies of your signature and they will turn that into a stamp for you, which obviously is then your responsibility to keep that safe. But then if you ever have to sign anything, you just stamp. And that's a service they provide free of charge. They're also the first bank in the UK to provide, those annoying card readers? I don't know, did you have them in America? Where for online banking, when that first became a thing, you have to put your card into this little, like a pocket calculator situation, type in your PIN, and then it gives you a verification code that you have to transfer over onto the computer for your online banking. Is that a thing in America?
I am so happy that you brought that up. That never became a thing in America, but I know exactly what you're talking about because in 2014, I started working at a startup whose employees, our entire engineering team outside of the front end team, was in Belgium. So I would get sent regularly to Belgium and I would see them do that and figure out what that was. And they're like, oh yeah, this is basically like every transaction that you have has like a serialized code that's unique every single time. And it looked like a pocket calculator that you just stuck your card into.
Yeah, that's the thing. But Nationwide created talking ones that you can plug headphones into.
Okay, there it is. I was like, wait a minute.
Actually, the new one, the latest one I have, has an external speaker as well. But the first one only had a headphones plug. And you put your card in, and it would talk you through what you needed to do. And then it would, the new one even has Braille on the buttons. It would talk you through what you needed to do and then read the number out to you as many times as you needed to transfer it over.
Ah, that's cool. Yeah.
I sense we have drifted off topic.
Oh, we have. You had talked about it in the past, and so has Simon, but like, the way that the American like credit card or just like card system is still archaic. Like we regularly still like send our waiters off with our card like sight unseen. It's still a thing here.
When I was over there, he was like, I'm just going to take your card. I'm like, no, you're not.
Was that your American accent, bud? I like how you had to like really emphasize the R there.
I don't know where I'm from. It's just
That was awesome.
it's like the transatlantic British accent. Yeah.
Oh God. Like after I found out what that was and I started, I can't watch like the early Star Wars anymore. Like I love it, but like when Leia talks,
It's so alien.
this is, oh man,
That's not a real accent.
I know.
But yeah, since Chip and Pin came out I looked it up for the Brain Blaze thing, but I think it was 2006. It became a thing in the UK. The banks were like, do not give anyone your card. If you give anyone your card and you get scammed, that is your fault, not ours. And we were all like, yeah, fair enough. There's no reason to give anyone your card. And in America, they're like, yeah, we're just going to walk off with your card. No, that's not a thing. I'll come with you to the register.
We've been doing it for so long. I remember working for the bank and I actually had people from the UK ask to be able to stick their card into a chip reader. I'm like, oh, you're going to have to swipe that. And they looked at me like I was 5. No, I don't. Like, yeah, you do.
Card readers in the UK don't even have a swipe thing on anymore, you know?
Most of them don't out here. Actually, no, I lied. They all have the chip reader, but they all also have the mag reader for driver's licenses or personal IDs.
Ah, that's different. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, because it can all go through the same system.
We don't have to identify ourselves everywhere we go all the time, so it's getting that way.
No, you just have the cameras.
Yeah.
That'll show you.
Yeah, but I think that's easier, you know?
I mean,
It gives you the illusion of freedom. You don't have to carry anything.
yeah. It was just like very dystopian to me when I visited China for like the first time ever in my life when I got married to my wife. She's Chinese. And I was just like, my photos being taken fucking everywhere. I go to a theme park and my photos being taken.
Are you for real? I went to Disney and they took my fingerprints.
That's weird.
In Disney World, they're like, oh yeah, you have to scan your thumbprint onto our system. And I was like, yeah, when are you going to delete that?
The 7 years-ish. We can choose to keep it longer. Well, like, I thought it was just very, very, very dystopian. And then, like, I took my kid very recently, like a few months ago, to Disneyland. And we had our photos taken. And I was like, okay, we're there now. This sucks. But hey, we're Asian. So my child will be 2 for as long as possible. No matter what your photo says about my kid. It's a different one.
In the UK, kids travel on the bus until free until they're 5. My child is definitely not 5, but if I get on the bus, I will not pay unless the driver calls me out. I get on the bus and I say, "Oh, go and find a seat," and it will just like run off down the bus and find us seats, and then I've got a free bus pass anyway. See, but my wife's like, "Oh no, I'll pay." I'm just. And like twice the bus driver has gone, "How old's your child?" And then I've said how old, and they're like, "Yeah, you have to pay." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I'll pay if you ask." I'm not volunteering my money.
Exactly. So, and when our kid was first born, we're like, oh, she can get into so many places for free, but it's a lockdown, so we can't really go anywhere. And I don't think my kid's genetics knows that we're Asian because she's tall. She's really tall. She can't pass for 2. She can't even pass for 4, and she's not even 4 yet. When we first walked into the gates at Disneyland, we had early entry because we stayed at a property that was attached to Disneyland.
Stayed on site.
Or like a Disney. Yeah, we stayed on site. So it was an old lady, like maybe in her like early 70s. She looks at my daughter. She's like, "How old's your child?" My wife looks at me. I'm like, "She's 2." Like my face didn't change. I'm like, she's 2 years old, and she calls someone else over, and like she tries to whisper it, but I hear it, and it's like, oh, they said that child's 2. I don't know. The other person is just as old as she. She's like, she looks at me, she looks at my wife, she looks at my kid again. She looks at me, she looks at my wife, and she goes, "How old's your child?" My daughter, without skipping beat, goes, "I'm 2 at Disneyland." Because we've been telling her, like, if anyone asks you, you're 2, but only say that at Disneyland. So my kid's like, "I'm 2 at Disneyland." And we're like, "Oh, no, it's her birthday. That's why she's saying it that way. It's her birthday. That's what we're taking her to Disney."
She's only just 2.
Only at Disney. Okay, it is almost 3 p.m. my time, which means it's getting really late for you. So I think we have time for like 2 more letters before you should probably like.
Yeah, let's do 2 more. We'll make it a 3-parter. Why not?
All right, good.
If you're up for that, make it a little mini series. It'd be good. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so up for that. A lot of these are like along the same theme, like how do blind people tell money apart? But this is actually a good one because I think I know the thought process behind it. And it's very similar to how blind people sleep. It's how do blind people tell time? So like think back to like the mid 90s for you.
Again, that depends. I mean, seriously, I usually just ask Alexa or Siri, or I just pick my phone up and press the power button and it will tell me the time. And my phone's all the way over there, so I can't do that. They do have tactile watches, which actually were invented for snipers, I found out fairly recently. It's basically just a normal 12-hour, hand, analog, that's the word I'm looking for. It's just an analog watch, but you press a little button and the screen flips up and you have the numbers represented with dots around the outside. So the 12, the 3, the 6, and the 9 have 2 dots, and the other numbers just have a single. And then you can feel where the hands are, and so you can work out the time. But they weren't invented for the blind, they were invented for snipers, so that you didn't have to illuminate your watch and give your position away, but they were adapted for the blind.
This is so cool. I literally Googled it just now. It is so cool.
I love that you're fact checking my anecdotes. That's fantastic.
No, I'm not fact checking. I'm just genuinely like, what do these fucking look like, dude? That is awesome. I mean, it makes sense. It's a little bit concerning that it's like, oh, we made these for, like people that kill people instead of like, focusing on the disabled, but still, like they get it.
I have one actually, one of the sniper models that a friend of mine who collects watches gave me, and it's one of the like auto wind ones. So as you move, it winds it up.
Oh yeah. Kinetic movement watches, like Japanese winding. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. I don't wear it because I'm not wearing a watch today, but I usually wear an Apple Watch, which will tell you the time. Actually, the Apple Watch has a thing where you can set it up so if you make a hand gesture, like clench your hand 3 times, it will buzz the time out to you and haptic feedback on your wrist, so you can check the time without being rude.
I didn't know that. I've got an Apple Watch. That's dope. Oh, you probably don't know this. We're gonna move on to the next letter, but apparently Simon wears Patek Philippe, and
oh, yeah.
People call out in the comments all the time, dude, I never focus on his hands. Like, how do you people catch this?
Yeah, watch.
Because I think it's the same model I do. But I didn't buy mine. That was a wedding gift.
I don't get it. A friend of mine, a watch collector friend of mine, says that after a certain price, it's not getting any technically better. And that price is surprisingly low. I think he said it's like sort of $200, $300. Between $200 and $1 million, you're not getting a better watch. It's just about the bling and the badge.
Yep. That's all it is. It's like a very, very expensive wine. It's like, you're not going to taste that difference. If anything, it's going to start tasting worse. I was really big into watches when I was a kid, just because James Bond was really big and he had like really cool gadgets and shit. But
oh yeah, I get that.
When I turned 16 or something, I figured out that my watch can't make someone like explode over there.
Yeah, if I could do that, if that worked, I'd buy all sorts of watches. But
yeah, I think my mom put it best. My mom always got me watches, the ones that I always wanted. But after a certain point, I just stopped. Especially after she told me, clocks, watches, and things that tell time just tell you, like, it's just counting down, like, the time that you're gonna die. So, like, it's good for a reference point of, like, where you need to be. But, like, it's just counting down when you're gonna die. That's a good point, Mom. That's a very good point. It's not so much a fashion statement anymore. Thank you. Okay, I think this will be the last one for us then. Okay, I'm gonna try to go for the more pragmatic one. How do blind people shake hands? Because I'm not going to ask you how you can see the color red.
I can't. Handshaking is interesting. You rely a lot. You rely a lot on the other person. Okay. What's actually more of a problem is if two blind people have to shake hands. I lived with another blind guy for a while, for reasons that I will tell, but I need to confirm with him that it's okay to tell the story because it is a good story. It's like,
let me know and I'll cut it out or leave it in.
No, I'd need to get back in touch with him. I'll tell it in the next part because it'll take me a while to get in touch with him. But like shaking hands with someone else who can't see, or even because we both smoked then, just like trying to pass stuff to each other, pass a lighter or something that you might be smoking to each other, that can be entertaining. But shaking hands...
I like how you had to qualify something that you were smoking.
It's not legal in the UK. I don't know. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on what I may or may not have smoked in my youth, allegedly. As a blind person shaking hands, you're relying on the other person. So you put your hand out in the sort of standard handshaking position and you just kind of have to wait.
So if it's two blind people, like I imagine that like by sound, you can kind of tell how far away they are.
Yeah, roughly.
Roughly what direction they're facing. Do you like try to figure out like where their like shoulder is and like work your way from there, or?
You kind of, you can usually work it out roughly, but it's usually like a forearm grab, slide into a handshake situation, you know?
Right. It's like the awkward kind of handshake you have when someone like is trying to fist bump you and then you go for a handshake and then like you switch around and then like you try to do a high five and like they switch it up and it's like you reach up with your other hand, you grab theirs and you just like bring it to your hand and just shake it. It's
more awkward because I don't always have a stick, a white stick. My little boy calls it my bat, which is great. It's now my bat in my house. So when we're going out, my son will be like, "Don't forget your bat," which makes me sound like much more violent and cool than I actually am. But
like belong in an episode of Walking Dead there, bud.
I've forgotten what I was going to say. See, this is what happens. I have 2 beers. Handshakes. Right. So sometimes I don't have my stick, or I'll have it clipped to my belt and people don't immediately realize. So if I'm talking to somebody, or if someone comes to the door and you talk to them for a while and then they'll go for the handshake and I just stand there like, so people are often left hanging because I don't know they've put their hand out for a handshake. So I'm just like, okay, I'll see you later. Turn away. I'm lucky now that in my area, the regular people who deliver parcels know I can't see, but that's another thing as well. If a stranger knocks on the door and you open the door, I'll just wait for that person to speak. So I've opened the door and they're waiting for me to say hello, but I don't know if there's anyone there because my dogs bark if like a carrier bag blows past in the wind. So to prevent myself from opening the door and saying hello to thin air 10 or 12 times a day, I'll just wait. And so a couple of times, sometimes people won't say anything for like 10 seconds. So I'll just shut the door. not knowing that there was someone there. And then like, if they're brave, they'll knock again and they'll be like, hello? Oh, sorry, I didn't realize. And then I'll say, I can't see. And then they get it. But food delivery people, now when I answer the door, if I get like Just Eat or Uber Eat, as soon as I answer the door, I go like, I'm blind, and like, the 2 fingers point at my eyes. I can't see. And then because otherwise I'm just kind of groping around for a bag of food. It's really awkward. I think we're now at just over 1 hour and 40 minutes, so probably time to call it.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot for me to edit. So if you wanna play us out.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us. Please do check out the new sponsor. I'll leave a link in the description. And like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.